Operation London Bridge. That's the code name given to the plan in place for the days and weeks after Queen Elizabeth II's passing. The Queen has been sitting on the royal throne since 1952. That's the longest reign of any monarch in British history. And during that time, she's seen over a dozen UK Prime Ministers, nearly 20 Summer Olympics, and over half a dozen popes. The Queen is the cornerstone to the Commonwealth, the patron to almost 600 organisations and charities, and plays a pivotal role in the UK's alliance with many countries. So her passing will bring about a lot of change. Not just for the United Kingdom, but potentially the world. Her private secretary, the Right Honourable Edward Young, will immediately pass a message on to the acting Prime Minister at the time. That message will likely read, "London Bridge is down." The Prime Minister will then set Operation London Bridge into action. Within minutes, the 15 governments outside of the UK where the Queen is head of state will be informed over a secure line. And that will be followed by the other 36 Commonwealth nations and leaders around the world. The gates of Buckingham Palace will then dawn a black-edged notice of the news. At the same time, a newsflash will alert media around the world. Every media outlet is prepared for the news. Every radio station has a network of lights that will flash to indicate a national catastrophe such as this. All BBC shows will stop and proceed to run a feed dedicated to the news. Newsreaders will change into the black suits and clothing that is on hand at all times in the news studio, and the traditional red BBC News branding will turn black. Newspapers, TV channels and radio stations have days of coverage ready to go. On the same day as her death, the Queen's eldest son, Charles, will immediately become king. And it's reported that the stock exchange, businesses and shops across the UK will likely close for the day out of respect. The day after the Queen's death, on a live stream, Charles will make his first official speech as king. And the government will swear its allegiance to the sound of a 41-gun salute in Hyde Park, London. After that, King Charles, if this is the name he so chooses, will set off on a UK tour, visiting the leaders of government in the capitals of each country, Edinburgh, Belfast and Cardiff, before returning to London. During this period, TV channels will play the many documentaries already made in the Queen's honour, and the BBC will refrain from playing comedy shows as a sign of respect until after the funeral. 4 days after her death, the Queen's coffin will be led on a military procession from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall. Here she will lie in state over the next 4 days, and after which King Charles, family and dignitaries will pay their respects. Then the doors will open to likely hundreds of thousands of people queued up outside. The funeral is estimated to take place 10 to 12 days after the Queen's passing. But one thing is certain, the day of the funeral will be an official bank holiday for the whole of the United Kingdom. The stock exchange will close for a second time in under 2 weeks, and many businesses will follow suit. At 11 AM sharp, the bells of Big Ben will chime, the country will fall silent, and the coffin will be brought inside Westminster Abbey, where 2,000 specially invited guests will bow their heads in prayer. After the service, the coffin will be taken to Windsor Castle, and then finally to St George's Chapel, where Queen Elizabeth II will likely be laid to rest next to her father, King George VI. Likely within a year after the funeral, an official coronation for King Charles will take place on yet another bank holiday. All in all, accounting for the multiple bank holidays, funeral expenses and coronation celebrations, the Queen's passing is estimated to cost the UK economy billions of pounds. In addition, hundreds of changes will happen across the UK in the months to come. New British currency will be printed with the King's portrait, and the Queen's currency will slowly be removed from use. The same will happen for stamps, passports, and police and military uniforms, and the national anthem will be changed to God Save the King. Not to mention how the world and Commonwealth will react to the new king could alter the British royal family forever. For example, there is growing support in Australia for the country to become a republic, and the Queen's death could heighten that support. This could lead other countries to follow suit, which would almost certainly weaken the British monarchy. This scenario will one day be upon us. Operation London Bridge will be triggered, and arguably the biggest funeral of our lifetime will be witnessed around the world. This will be the end of an era.
Investigation has been launched after sensitive emails containing details of protocols surrounding the Queen's death. They were accidentally leaked by the Welsh Government. The email contained a letter from a civil servant which outlined concerns about a news organisation having confidential information about the plans. The conversation, which was marked as officially sensitive, was sent to multiple people internally and to a former employee. The Welsh Government says the email did not contain any operational information.
My lords, pray be seated. My lords and members of the House of Commons, Her Majesty's government's priority is to grow and strengthen the economy and help ease the cost of living for families. Her Majesty's government will level up opportunity in all parts of the country and support more people into work. Her Majesty's ministers will continue to support the police, to make the streets safer, and fund the National Health Service to reduce the COVID backlogs. In these challenging times, Her Majesty's government will play a leading role in defending democracy and freedom across the world. Government will continue to seize the opportunities of the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union to support economic growth. I just wanted to say, if I may, how much I applaud, for what it's worth, your determination during this G7 summit to create a greener and more prosperous future in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The global health emergency has shown us what a truly borderless crisis looks like. And of course, we did not fully see COVID coming, yet climate change and biodiversity loss represent a borderless crisis, the solutions to which have been argued about and postponed for far too long. The fight against this terrible pandemic provides, if ever one was needed, a crystal clear example of the scale and sheer speed at which the global community can tackle crises when we combine political will with business ingenuity and public mobilization. Now, after, I suppose, very nearly 50 years of trying to raise awareness of the growing climate and environmental crisis, I'm at last sensing a change in attitudes and the build-up of positive momentum. I have listened closely to leaders of many countries, particularly Commonwealth nations, and I've listened to those leaders of the private sector who are now more and more anxious to invest in the projects and new technologies that could establish a more rapid transition to sustainability. Some 300 of the world's top CEOs from every sector of the economy, including financial services, and representing well over $60 trillion of assets under management, joined my Sustainable Markets Initiative and demonstrated how acutely sensitive they are to the way both consumers, who control more than 60% of global GDP, and shareholders, who are now demanding changes in the way businesses behave. Shareholders, who are now demanding changes in the way businesses behave. In the United Kingdom, it is only too clear that we will need trillions of dollars of investment every year. We will need trillions of dollars of investment every year to create the necessary new infrastructure that will save our forests and farms, our oceans and our wildlife, which is why I've spent so much time over the past 19 months trying to form a global alliance amongst the private sector so that climate change can be tackled in partnership, about what is needed to overcome barriers and unlock trillions of dollars and attract the necessary institutional investment for new ones. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing it for the pandemic. So, if you don't mind me saying so, we must also do it for the planet. And the window of opportunity to tackle it is closing extremely fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, my plea today is for countries to come together to create the environment that enables every sector of industry to take the action required. We know this will take trillions, not billions of dollars. We also know that countries, many of whom are burdened by growing levels of debt, simply cannot afford to go green. Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector, with trillions at its disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders. It offers the only real prospect of achieving fundamental economic transition.
We see our own children and their families embrace the roles, traditions and values that mean so much to us as these are passed from one generation to the next.